York Women in Communications Tips from the Top series. Today I am joined by Denise Warren. She is the Executive Vice President of the New York Times Digital Products and Services Group. She is also a former New York Women in Communications President. Thank you so much for joining us today, Denise.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
Great to have you. I wanted to start with talking about your education. You received an MBA from Fordham in Media and Communications Management. What made you decide to go for that MBA, and has it helped you in your career?
I was primarily in the financial area of public accounting and the media business. And I had been working for the Times, and I was very, very interested in getting into what I called the front line, really seeing where things were happening, as opposed to being in the accounting area, which was wonderful and a great experience, but really looking at things sort of after the fact. And I knew that in order to round out my background, it was going to be important for me to prove that I was more than an accountant.
I love what you did, growing in the Times, starting out as a financial analyst, and now you're in an executive position. How did you know when it was the right time to take those steps, to take on more responsibilities within the same company?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I'm going to say that I'm going to give a lot of credit to some mentors that I had in the company. I really do think that it's helpful to have people who have experience that you go to for advice, who can really help steer your career and help make you feel uncomfortable.
One of the biggest problems that people have is when they realize they want to move up, they don't know where to start. So what would you recommend for someone who wants to grow within the same company?
I think you have to get to know different parts of the organization. I think for me, being in the strategic planning function for so many years gave me such a wonderful window into different areas of the company. So I was able to naturally explore. But that's not the case for everybody else. So I think like anything else, you have to make networking, internal networking, a part of how you approach your career development.
When you start out at a new company, a lot of people feel uncomfortable in their new environment. Obviously they want to do their call of duty, but what are some other tips that you would recommend when you start out in a new job to get settled within that company?
I think the most important thing when you're starting out in any new job, whether it's a job that's new to you in the same company or a job that is new to you in a new company, is listen and learn and really try to understand the history of the institution that you're working at and what's happened before, because I think that gives you such a great context for the kinds of things that you might be confronting in the future. So my rule of thumb is, to listen more than you speak. And there's a reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
How can you then set yourself up to be a leader within your position?
Do your job, do it really well, do it better than anybody expects, come in early, leave late. I mean, I really believe in good old-fashioned hard work and really working not just hard, but working smart. And I do think that'll get recognized.
Are there any misconceptions or stigmas being a woman in a leadership role that you have personally challenged?
For many, many years, I worked a flexible schedule, and I was one of the few senior women here at the New York Times to do so. It doesn't mean that I was working any fewer hours than anybody else here at the New York Times, but because I live relatively far from the city, about an hour away, it was much more convenient for me to be able to work from home 1 day a week or 2 days a week when I first came back from maternity leave. And I did that for many, many years, and I was still able to rise here at the New York Times. So I think for me that was really important. People talk about, can you really have balance in your life? I actually believe you can if you make it a priority. I made it a priority. There was no way I was putting my career before my children, and that was something that I just made work in my life. I had a lot of supportive people here at the New York Times, but the reason why it worked is because I did the work, I did the job. I got results for the company.
Speaking of support, how important is it for women to join a group that supports women in the communications industry?
You don't get to these positions without support, whether it's a supportive family, whether it's my assistant who is phenomenal and I could not live without her, whether it's my team. I mean, really, you don't get anywhere without support. And I would say the same for New York Women in Communications. The women I have met, the kinds of things that I have been exposed to as a result of being in the organization have absolutely made me a better professional and a better working woman.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. You can catch more of New York Women in Communications Tips from the Top series on our website.